Fear can hold us back and make us feel stuck. But if we don't face the things that scare us, how will we ever progress? That's certainly the case for us creatives, whether we're afraid of going freelance, starting a side project, applying for that job, or making a complete lifestyle shift. Embracing what terrifies us could actually lead us to happiness. And if it doesn't, well, there's always a lesson to be learned. Joanna Henly is no stranger to change. She spent her childhood moving around as her parents' careers dictated. On making new friends at different schools and getting used to new routes, she naturally built resilience, and as a result didn't shy away from her fears. That's not always been the case. Just like any of us, Joanna has her ups and downs. But in 2019, she suddenly decided to leave London for Lisbon, completely changing her entire lifestyle and career. And when the global pandemic happened, that only encouraged her to pursue her dreams even more. She became a creative mentor and now works with aspiring, emerging and mid-term career artists to propel their creativity and careers forward. She's taken everything she's experienced from her own journey of being an illustrator, muralist, fine artist and digital and VR painter to help others. Joanna has worked with Reebok, Google, Vivienne Westwood and Wacom. She's presented her work and ideas as inspiration sessions for Apple and sold out workshops and masterclasses at venues including the V&A, the Saatchi and National Portrait Galleries. Her artworks have even hung in the Saatchi Gallery and Somerset House, while her books are stocked at the Tate and National galleries. She's curated and exhibited solo shows in London and Hong Kong. More recently, she's presented ideas and interactive art with everyone from Google to fashion giants Galliano, painted in VR for the Land Rover Evoque world premiere, and so much more. So how on earth do the rest of us face and overcome fear? How do we move forward as creatives and discover new ways of working and living? Essentially, how do we become unstuck and move forward? Joanna gives some excellent advice for anyone itching to make a significant change this year. DSLRs, mirrorless, compact or medium format. If you want a new camera to play with, have you considered doing some good and finding a pre-loved piece of kit? You'll certainly save money by picking up something used rather than buying brand new, and also help out a fellow creative who has traded in their old camera. Where can you make this magic happen? MPB is the largest global platform to buy, sell and trade used photo and video kit. You can shop for all the used camera kit you need, sell your unwanted gear to MPB and get an instant quote, free shipping and fast payment. We especially love it here at Creative Boom because its mission is to make gear more accessible and affordable while helping the entire creative industry to become more sustainable. It helps recirculate 500,000 items each year, extending the life and creative potential of photo and video equipment for creators all around the world. And the brands MPB stocks won't disappoint. We're talking Canon, Nikon, Leica and Hasselblad, just for starters. There are loads to browse through on the website. Just go to mpb.com to see what they have on offer. So Joanna, we're talking today about fear, and you're the perfect person to talk about this with because you have literally done the very thing that I wish I had more courage to do, moved to a sunny clime and changed your life, and now you're doing something completely different, all within the realm of what you're good at. But you've done it, you've gone for it, you've embraced this amazing lifestyle change and moved to Lisbon. How's it going?
Gosh, it's going really good, but I've just celebrated. Well, I'm kind of almost 5.5 years here.
Wow.
It's so funny when you say, when you explain it like that. All my friends, everyone around me, even my parents, because we're a forces family. My dad was in the RAF. We went through a lot of change, and we're going to probably talk about that today in detail. Everyone was saying, oh my gosh, this is so brave. I can't believe you're doing it. But for me, it was a decision, and I just ran with the momentum. It wasn't until a good couple of years, or at least the first year, that it was like, okay, so I'm here. What's next? The whole idea was to just disrupt the norm, really. And
it's exciting.
It's been really exciting. Yeah, super exciting. And yeah, I always had this appreciation, this understanding that, just say yes, just go for it. My whole career was, well, a lot of my career was sort of learning on the job and just trying new things and, gathering more skills for my tool set, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I guess at the back of my mind, I knew that I would feel stronger and in a good place. And maybe my brain sort of edits out the fear, but fear is a huge part of my practice.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't realize it, painting live in front of thousands of people and doing kind of quite extraordinary, brave things, even though I'm shaking.
That's great. You just faced the fear and done it anyway. It's like, but did you, because like fear holds a lot of us back. It stops us from exploring new ventures. It stops us, developing ourselves, and it stops us from doing, amazing life changes like moving to Lisbon. But was there a sort of thing that prompted you to do that? Were you was there like a kind of turning point where you thought, oh, I need to change something?
Yeah, as I said, I moved a lot growing up. So I've experienced a lot of change, and I loved listening to the podcast that you did recently about embracing change. That was wonderful. With, that was incredible. And
can't remember who that was with.
I can't remember. And we were looking at, having that sense of moving towards something where it's like this knowing that there's something on the other side. It's so funny. I guess I'm thrown a bit, actually, because I forgot to tell you, we were talking about the title of this, and that was the first self-help, although I call them self-awareness books, which is called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I think I bought that when I was 14.
Oh, gosh, wow.
Was probably in my 5th school at that point. So I obviously was working with that energy.
So you've had to kind of like, from a young age, adapt and go through a lot of what, many of us don't get to, be kind of exposed to, that, that change, that disruption, moving to a new town, starting in a new school, having to sort of make new friends. That is, real character building stuff. So it probably just comes natural to you to do these sorts of things.
Yes and no. I'm resilient. I've done it. I've come out the other side and the world hasn't collapsed. I haven't collapsed. I know that I access something internally that I haven't found previously. And I really see fear as an opportunity to do things differently, to show up, be a bit braver, to have that new slate, to have that new you in a way. And with London, there was a few things. Obviously, Brexit. So 2017 was when I decided about moving, and it was enforced by the move to Brexit. The change with Brexit. Also, not doing another winter, even though it was amazing in my Stoke Newington rag factory of a studio, which I loved. It was bloody freezing, and I was like, no more winters here. But also in my career, I just taken on 2 books that I was working on with an amazing publishing house in America, and it was drawing books. I spent 80 hours a week doing those 2 drawing books, and then I did a game for Lawrence King Publishing. Nice. And I was just completely isolated in this studio. I decided to leave my agency. I really needed something new in my career. I felt like I was, repeating the same thing. I needed something fresh, but I didn't know what that was.
Sure.
And the books, in a way, were drawing manuals. And they included all my past work. So it was almost like a physical representation of, this is a closed book now. This is the end of this chapter of my life. And they sort of published as I was moving to Lisbon, which was wonderful.
Great.
So it was like, okay, what's next? And I needed what I was calling white space, because in London, everything's moving. You think you're busy all the time because you're just having to plug into this thing that's in flux. You know, it takes you forever to get anywhere. And, you know, it's just bustly and busy. And obviously I miss that now, parts of it. But I needed somewhere where I didn't have to go on holiday to read a novel, you know, that feeling. I needed a different pace, and to just trust that on the other side I'd have the answers, and just start asking questions. So those were the main drivers.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I suppose I always hated that thing, you know, if you're tired of London, you're tired of life. I just don't feel like that's the case at all. I mean, we're in flux ourselves, aren't we? And we change, our needs change. And if you're brave enough to accept that actually you're going to be leaving something which everybody sells as this amazing thing, oh, live in London, London's an amazing hub for being a creative, but then you decide, actually, this isn't right for me, I'm going to go and live in Lisbon. That's brave as well. That's kind of like, oh, what if this doesn't work out? What if I miss London? But actually, look at you now, 5.5 years later, you've done a lot, changed a lot. And by the sounds of things, you got that white space that you needed. That kind of, I mean, did you get the chance to just have a nice reset, a rethink when you got there?
Yeah, it was just change upon change. I had a year of just sort of living the life, and then decided that my life partnership wasn't working for me, so I moved in on my own.
Wow.
That was huge because there weren't many people speaking English at that time, so that was quite a big thing to set up. And then 3 months after that, the pandemic happened.
Oh gosh,
so
yeah,
so I was going through a massive reset. I was working with Adobe at the time, and that was great. I had my connections. I mean, the reason I moved to Lisbon because it was so close to the airport. I could go back every couple of months. In my mind, my mindset was, I'm not leaving London. I'm straddling two cities. I'm never going to leave London. London's still my culture. I was there for 20 years, you know.
Long time.
It's a long time. So yeah, I think really it just felt like an opportunity to move through that change, and that white space did come. And I was thinking about this the other day. I remembered when the pandemic did hit, it was like, okay, so we're all in the same boat now. Everyone's going to be relieved in a way, even though it was kind of terrifying. It was like, I think we all just needed to rest. We were just all exhausted because there was this sense of one thing after the next thing, one project after the next project, not really having time to celebrate, process.
Yeah, and, it's so true because the creative industries really felt that, didn't it? Because we all kind of grew on social media and we all kind of found a creative calling, a career out of what we love to do. It's only really sort of, I mean, those jobs have always existed, but not so much as much as they do now, thanks to the internet, really, and allowing, you know, so many more people to start their businesses bootstrapped, affordably. And then, of course, make these changes and pivot and try new things. I mean, it's an exciting time to be an entrepreneur, really.
It is a really exciting time. Even though there is that change, I think we have to remember that we're all going through it. And we can reach out and we can learn from each other and we can support each other. I've worked with so many incredible teachers the last 3 years, from business coaches, energy therapists, and you know, just to really hone my language of knowing how to use the energy of fear, how to work with our language as well, because it's, you know, I was writing something down. It's like words are powerful, but We have to not believe in what we think, you know. We have to really work with the things that we're saying to ourselves. It's a really important time where we can be sustainable, and with the fact that we have so much access, it is really, I think we need to talk more about how we can expand into more supportive networks, get help, but also, keep doing what we're doing, because creativity and creative work and creative collaboration is so important right now.
Yeah, so you're saying that now that we've sort of gone through this era, which has been quite unique, hasn't it, for a generation, you're saying that actually rather than suffer alone or try and figure things out on your own, reach out to other creatives and maybe even sort of find, like you had, a mentor that can sort of guide you through next steps. Because sometimes it's really hard, isn't it, to decide, okay, well, I recognize that something needs to change, but I don't know how to get there. I don't know what I need to do. Do I move city, or is that too drastic? Do I leave illustration behind and go into graphic design? Do I leave the creative community altogether and go off and write a book or create a course, whatever it is? You just got to find what's next. But it's when you're so burnt out, it's sometimes really difficult to take that next step, and people get stuck.
Yeah, it's so true. That's why I've worked with a mentor for years. I've always accessed support. That's been really, really important for me, because whether you're a solopreneur, a studio, or freelancer, however you want to view yourself, there's so many ebbs and flows. There's quiet periods, there's busy periods. It's really what I found. Without support, it was very difficult to kind of go, oh yeah, I'm having a quiet period now, so I'm going to work on my growth projects, or I'm going to work on my self-initiated projects, or I'm going to generate this. So it's really great having someone on your team who's going to go, right, okay, what do you want? What are you great at? That's why I moved, because at the back of my mind, in my body, on a cellular level, I know that I can do that. I know that I'm not, I don't have a force field. I know that it's still going to be really scary for me. Even though I do that, I know what's on the other side is so much more freedom and confidence and growth. So, you do need someone to kind of ask the right
guide
questions.
You along.
Yeah, find out what is the thing that you're really good at. What is the thing that you can do that doesn't burn you out? Often when we're burnt out, it's because we're doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah, we're not enjoying it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that is interesting. I mean, I can see now that actually you've gained so much from this. You've now actually become a mentor yourself, and you're offering this service to other artists and creatives to help them figure out the way forward. That's empowering. You must get such a kick out of that.
I really, really do. And I always say I'm so selfishly invested in this work, because I get to mentor myself. If you want to learn something, the best way to learn it is to teach it. But I get to work with artists in a really collaborative way, and we're just kind of brainstorming. And I'm like, oh, have you thought about this way of doing it? Did you realize that you have these amazing strengths? And it's super empowering. I remember working with an incredible business coach in the middle of the pandemic. She said, and I think this relates to everyone, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're struggling, the most important thing to do is to find someone else that you can support.
Has there been a time where, you found yourself in that kind of moment where you were just, oh my gosh, I don't know the way forward, because it sounds like you do have that resilience, but did you, was there a time in Lisbon where you just thought, gosh, I don't know which way to turn now?
Yeah, when I started working with I work with an amazing art mentor And when we started working together a year and a half ago, I was like, I need to leave Lisbon. I just didn't feel connected, didn't feel like I had my tribe here. I wasn't really sure what the next thing was. And there's been times, where I felt really isolated. And that's one of the reasons one of the many reasons that the mentoring just felt like such a natural trajectory. One, it's when my brain is in its superpower mode. I'm thinking, I'm listening, I'm digesting, I'm brainstorming, collaborating, coming up with solutions. So it's almost what I was doing with clients, creative clients, but, it's so lovely face to face. It's so intimate.
It's reassuring because these are other people who have been through the same things as you. They understand more than anything. I mean, just to be able to talk to somebody who's been there, done that, bought the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that happened to me as well. Oh, gosh. Oh, I found this really helped. What did you find work? And it's just comforting. You don't obviously want other people to suffer, but it's nice knowing that you're not alone.
Yeah, and also I think what's really good for me, and the reason I started it was because I couldn't find anyone that I wanted someone that had walked the path, that was an amazing coach, but also, had rolled their sleeves up and done the work and made the mistakes. And because that's me, and I was like, okay, well, there's a gap, I'll fill it. That was a really big challenge and exciting. But I get to be quite firm and very honest and really straight. And it's like, okay, this isn't going to work because I've been there, I've done it. Every single person that I work with, there's something that's really connects us, because when you find the perfect coach, when you're interested in someone, it's because you see something in them that's part of you. That's just naturally how we connect with people. And I love that. And because I get artists coming to me, and sometimes when I ask them what they want, they're like, I just need someone to kick my ass.
Love it.
And I could do that.
Yeah. I mean, that is probably one of the biggest challenges, isn't it? So, getting that motivation to make the next step happen, and having somebody hold you accountable. It's just very
accountability
powerful.
Is what I needed, because I didn't realize. When I left London, I was like, I can't deal with the stress anymore. I'm doing too many jobs. Too many things are going on. My dad had been ill, so everything sort of just splintered. And I didn't realize at the time I had ADHD. But there was times where it was so fraught and I couldn't understand why. I was forgetting things. I couldn't. So the last thing I was able to do was, when I had a quiet phase, feel relaxed enough to go, oh, well, I'm going to do my lovely project now. I'm going to work on my new plan, or my new project, my new self-initiated dream design work that I'm working on. So it's so important that you're catching up with someone and you're identifying their strengths, you're identifying how they work, you understand what they need, you're in that room with them. And that accountability is so important. Yeah. Because how often do we do a project for a client? We're like, I can't believe how much I did, because we've got a deadline, we've got feedback, we've got interaction. We know when we're doing right, we know when we're doing wrong. So it's when the pandemic hit and we lost work and clients, there was this big void. We're like, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if this is right. Am I going in the right direction? So you kind of have that relationship with the mentor, and I've needed it.
Yes. Well, we're human, aren't we? We can't be isolated. We need that relationship. We need to be amongst people who understand and who we can sort of sound ideas off and just feel like we're normal, I guess, whatever that means.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I did the same. I think a lot of us did during lockdown. I ended up seeing a creative coach. She was fabulous. Amazing. And she was always laughing at me because she said, you don't really need me, because every time I speak to you, you've done 1,000,001 more things. And I was like, no, this is great. It's really motivating. It's helping me sort of figure out next steps. It's making me think beyond my kind of normal realm of how to solve different problems. And the amount of progress I made within those, 12 months was phenomenal. So it's almost like I had to get out of my, almost arrogance that I didn't need a mentor, and to find that actually even highly driven, self-motivated people like myself can get help without them even realizing.
Yeah, and I think we need to, as women, I talk to a lot of my friends that are in the sort of therapy coaching industry, and we do struggle to ask for help because we're born into a world, and we're sort of hardwired to be the makers, the doers, the pillow puffers, and the
people pleasers.
The people pleasers, yeah. But if anything happened to our child or anything happened to our pet, it's a different story. But we're the last person to ask and to support. But yeah, I love that you shared that, because I've worked with a couple of artists, especially around the pandemic, and even in them just making that leap to say, yes, okay, I need this help. I'm going to go for this. I remember I worked with an amazing, she's a photo retoucher, and she's now, since working together, she's an abstract painter. She's so prolific. Wow. It's amazing. But I couldn't, I onboarded her, but then we had a month where I was ill, and then she was ill with COVID. And in that month, her whole life changed. And it was just because she said yes. It's just because she stepped into it. Like your coach was saying, how much you'd done. It's almost like this transformation happened even before we started the work.
Well, you'll have given her permission to sort of let go of something.
Absolutely.
That is powerful, because it even comes, you could say mentoring is a little bit like counselling. If you've been told something your whole life that you're not good at this, or you'll never be that. And then you have a professional say to you, actually, you are good at these things. It can be so empowering. And then the switch goes in your brain and you kind of, oh, yes, well, I can do that. And everything changes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's all been about confidence building. And I say it's almost like you're holding a mirror to someone, and allowing them to really face themselves and understand, the big things are, and this relates to, the pandemic and change. It's like, who are we now? We've been told, and we've been told who we are. Our job doesn't define us. Our family don't define us. Our day-to-day doesn't define us, but also we've been through this huge change. Kind of crazy change. Like, but where do we see ourselves now? We need to, ask the questions of, what am I good at? What are the things that I'm ready to do? When I went through, I had a really tough time when I lost my granddad, and I was in London, and I took it really, really hard. We were so close. He used to send me so many funny letters. We used to write to each other when I was in uni. We used to find all these terrible paisley old ties from the 70s. And he's like, give you a little parcel, say, give these to people that you don't like. It just we had like this such magical friendship, and it really, really hit me, and it took me a long time. I had to take some time off work, and I had to like really reset. When I felt like there was this white space again, when we're talking about, it's like, how do I want to fill that? The most basic things. What are the things that I want to do in my life? And this was in my 30s. And it was like, I just want to do art, and I want to work with people. And that was enough of a clue for me to then find things. And I was sitting at a bus stop, and there's these old, I don't know if they still do them in London. They're like called 9 to 5. They're like free advertising magazines. And it was sitting on the floor and on the bus stop, and it was public art and community art course in Middlesex. And I ended up doing that, and it changed my life. I ended up
Wow.
doing it as a post-diploma, then ending up, one of the teachers became my first mentor. So we learned about mural art. He taught me how to teach, run workshops, and then I ended up running and coordinating the whole course.
Wow.
And through doing those, by picking up those signals and just being guided in a way. And I think, when we're under pressure, we have this anxiety layer. We can't see things clearly. So sometimes stopping, even if it is involuntary, just stopping and having peace and knowing that the world isn't going to fall apart. But if it does, there's something beautiful on the other side. I really was thinking, gosh, there's so much breakthrough from breaking down. It's like that black hole, the Big Bang,
The big kind of moment where you think, gosh, I'm broken. This, something has to change. I mean, and like you say, it can be something as simple as that. You just take a moment, you breathe, and then the answers come to you. And actually, when the answers come, you realise that they're quite simple. Just simple little kind of tweaks or ideas. And when you're confronted with some challenge or difficulty, whether you're going through, I don't know, chronic pain moment, or you've had a partner leave you, or you've left them, or whatever's happened, or you've had, sadly lost somebody that you love, there's this kind of clarity that comes from those awful experiences where you think, what do I want my life to be? Who do I want to be? And where do I want this to go? So when we're young, we're just invincible, aren't we? If we're lucky to have had a lot of luck in our youth, we're invincible. We can do anything. We don't think about the consequences. And as we get older, that's more of a struggle, because we've suffered loss and we've suffered pain, and we know what could go wrong more than we've ever done before. And so fear creeps in, and fear ends up almost like somebody's poured a bucket of tar over our bodies, and we become stuck, and we just cannot see a way past that kind of, darkness, I guess.
Yeah. And I think I definitely know what you're saying. I really appreciate that. But I have to say, it's so important. It's quite funny. I was talking to someone recently about the whole idea of the big break, the big career moment. There's so many, and there's so many more to come. I think it's so important to appreciate that, the past happened, but we can't say that the past was my best years. And I think in our society, it's very much about that. That's one of the reasons I moved to Lisbon. I remember going to Barcelona and seeing I was on a job and I had the day off, and I hired a bicycle and I went through all the amazing esplanades, and there was this concert and I could hear this beautiful music. I was like, what's going on? And there was a lady, she had this purple rinse hair, and she was playing a guitar, and all of the people were in their 70s, 80s. And I just sat there and I was like, that doesn't happen in the UK. There's this sense of, we're always talking about the past. We're never looking towards the future. And I was like, I want to be somewhere where I'm supported. And it's, I see people around me that are not hidden away, generations above. And everyone has their old Portuguese lady living next to them, or that they, wave at when they go past on the street. And it's a different life here. And I love that. And they still have a life, and they still have their little coffee shops. And I do struggle with that because, we were definitely braver, and we had less knocks, and we had less baggage. But there's so many ways that we can still create those moments of confidence, because it isn't something that we have or don't have. It's about finding the right environment and making sure that's the thing. That's why I moved. It was, I needed new people around me, new things. Because when we're with the same people, like a lot of coaches will say, you're the sum of the 5 people you're around. It's so true. we need to shake that up, shake those obligations, sever those ties and go, okay, I'm just going to be me. Who is that now? Don't want to have a baby, don't want to buy a house. I just want to marry myself. I just want to be in love with the new person that I'm ready to be. And it gives you that. And this is like the backbone or what underpins, should I say, that the mentoring that I do is like, we have to keep thinking about what the big vision is, because we've still got a life to live.
This podcast is brought to you by NPB, the largest global platform to buy, sell and trade used photo and video kits. Every week we'll be chatting with photographer and NPB ambassador Ian to take a closer look at different bits of kit available. What have you got for us this week, Ian?
Well, this week we have creating the film look and playing with your in-camera presets. So playing with your in-camera presets is a great way to get your images as close to how you'll want them to look post-editing in Lightroom or Photoshop, depending on what you use. But instead, you do it all in camera. So Fujifilm kickstarted this craze a few years back by adding an option to their cameras to use presets based on their legacy film stocks to give their images a slightly different look. However, you can even play with these further in camera by making them slightly less sharp, for example. You can warm up the shadows, make the blues a little bit greener, and you can even mimic the effects of like yellow filters on black and white film, for example. So this makes for a much more fun shooting experience, and potentially means that you can even use your in-camera JPEGs to be your final image, completely sidestepping the need to edit later.
That's great, Ian. Thanks so much. And if you're interested in creating the film look and playing with some in-camera presets, then just go to our show notes where there's a link to the guide with NPB. And if you'd like some new equipment, you can go to mpb.com and start browsing today. We have got so much life left, and you know, it's not like we get to 50 and we're on the shelf and we've had our moments and we've kind of like, that's it, we've succeeded, we've done everything that we set out to succeed, you know, and that's it, and just more of the same, please. No, I mean, I guess you could say this time of life is where a lot of us do get stuck and don't know where to, because you know, a lot of people do get married, they have children, they have responsibilities, they have big mortgages. And then you kind of think, well, I can't change. I can't take any risks. I can't be brave, because if I do all of that, what if I stop? What if I stop the income? You know, so we get stuck because of these external things. But then if you don't have all that, then I guess you're freer to be bold and make the change. So I guess my question would be, how in those situations when you can't just up and move to Lisbon, which by any stretch probably was not easy for you. Yeah. How does somebody who hasn't got that option, how do they kind of make such a bold, amazing change to become happier, to find themselves again if they've got a little bit lost?
I think there's a few things really, because we're changing all the time. You know, our cells are changing, our years are moving forward, as you're saying. With me, when I felt stuck, and I guess we're saying that, what does that look like when we're just feeling, is this it? How do I shake things up? If I'm not shaking things up, I feel like maybe I'm in a rut. I'm in a kind of bit of a loop, a familiar loop. For me, when that happened in London, and that's how I got out of that time dealing with that huge grief, was journaling. That was a huge process for me. And reading. I know The Artist's Way was very woo at that time, especially when it was published in the 90s. And now it's having like this huge resurgence. Everyone's going mad for it on TikTok. Play. That's why we struggle, because we've stopped playing. You know, we have a half-life, and that's why a lot of us, you know, in that half-life, so we have these two parts. And it either ends at 40 or 50, and this is like the midlife as we know it.
Time to buy a Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, what's the next part now? How do I become and if you look at a lot of, I did a lot of reading around this, and it's called kind of like individualization. So this is when we really grow up. So even if you're talking about art and the creative industry, you're still a practicing artist till you're 40 in parts of Europe, especially in France. So it's like, okay, well, who am I now? Separate of my children, of my wife, of my mum, of my job, and exploring, whether you're journaling, whether you're reading, whether you're going to a community meetup. Those things were fundamental for change for me. Even if I was like, white knuckle ride next to on the kitchen unit going, I'm not going to leave. But just saying yes to stuff and just going with the momentum and going, right, start before you're ready. Who knows what's going to land? And this once you start playing, you get into that lovely zone of, this is just an experiment. Who knows? This is no fail. This is no yes or no. This binary masculine system is how we've been brought up through our school, especially for us at our age. It's like, if you're struggling, it's wrong. If you don't get it right, it's wrong. If you need another alternative, it's wrong. Whereas the approach that I have is creative. We need that.
And in some cases, people say, oh, you're changing things. You're moving to Lisbon. What's wrong with you? Are you messed up?
Yeah. And that's the thing. We have to, when you're going through change, I call it risk assessment. And this is what I learned through running public art site visits. And you have to, and people are very part of this. If you're going to make some change, if you're going to make a bold move, even if it feels like the tiniest thing, I get the artists that I work with, I'm like, okay, let's risk assess it. How can you second guess what's going to go wrong? Okay, this person's going to call me out for being a big head, for moving, or, So the risk assessment on the job would be the ladder's not been secured, or the scissors is open, or, those kind of things. But with every big project, it's like, let's look at almost like a video game. I love gamifying things because it should be playful, whether you're time boxing or whether you're collecting all your wins and collecting your champions. It's all about gamifying. So we can still feel, a bit, we can zoom out a bit and be playful.
Yes.
And know what's going to, if we are going to need to carve out time, that's the biggest thing. It's like, I've got these ideas and I've got these aspirations, but when am I going to fit this in? If I have got a family, if I have got a job, okay, so how can you risk assess that? Make sure that everyone that you live with are going to support that. Make sure you're not going to have interruption. Put your phone on the other side of the house because it's sticky. Anything new is going to, you're going to meet resistance. So, but you just stay playful. I work with another amazing business coach, and we work with that sort of feminine approach. It's like, failure's great, curiosity is great, just keep moving. And she's like, even if it's your account, even if somebody's sent you a terrible moment, she'd get her laptop and she would pretend to close the laptop and she'd go, just have a fuck it moment. She's like, I'm not available for this, and just like, stop. Just be in your power. And I think moving through those things are really important. Just playing.
I love that. Play it. Don't kind of doom it. Because we have a tendency to take these things that happen to us and these fears of what could go wrong, and we kind of tend to spiral, don't we, if we let it. And that can end up invading our thoughts. It can end up like stopping us from moving forward. It can, determine whether a day is a good day or a bad day. But actually, if we just take a step back and say, okay, I got a bad text from someone, or a client wasn't happy, or that thing that I tried didn't work out. But what did I learn from it? And like you say, let's play with it. Let's see how we can sort of take a positive from this. it's not easy because we have a tendency to sort of be on the negative side. Many of us, it takes training and practice to be positive and say, okay, I'm going to approach this in a different way.
Yeah, you're right. It takes training, and we're all still, I feel, can be in survival mode. And it takes training. It's an inside job and it's a life's work. You have to be a bit of a thought ninja. You have to really, really, because most of the time we've got so many thoughts running around on our head that they just become wallpaper. We don't even realize they're there. And they're so minimizing and they're so reductive. But we need to call them out and we need to work with them.
And don't, fall victim to them, except
exactly.
that they're not reality. They're not reality.
Mm-hmm.
They might be, they might be fears. They're things that we genuinely think could go wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it's changing the mindset a little bit. But okay, so what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's work backwards. If that's the worst that can happen, then how can we tackle that from now in case it happens?
Exactly.
And just taking a more proactive approach.
Yeah, and looking at, when we were saying about the risk assessment, it's like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because, we can't be led and directed by them.
No.
Because fear's not going to go away. I've worked with some amazing artists and I get them to imagine what that looks like, whether it's like a little crazy animal or a goblin. And I have one amazing artist that I work with and she made it into like this mosquito. And we kind of call it out, know it's there, and it's like, oh, okay, it's you again. Could you just sit over there for a minute? I got
buzzing
stuff
around
to do.
the head. Yeah.
I got stuff to do. But as creatives, it's a brave act being a creative, more and more, as we know. And we just have to work with fear, because for me and a lot of the artists that I've worked with, we've been able to use that as fuel. It's that driver, because there's a very thin line between anxiety, fear and excitement. So I feel it. I know I might sound really glib saying, oh yeah, well, you should just gamify everything. It's so easy. It's not. I have to do the work. I have my own practice. Every artist that I work with, the part of them working with me is that they develop a journaling practice. So they develop their own emotional resilience. And after working with them a couple of months and them telling me that they've had this block, but they work through it in their journal, kind of makes me want to cry, because it feels like we're rising together. And it just allows me, because when I first started the mentoring, and we have to remember that we all have this feeling of, who am I to tell people to do what to do? Who am I to say that this is the right way to look at a piece or a best way to design? We all have that imposter syndrome, especially as women, because we doubt ourselves almost twice as much as men do.
I would agree.
Yeah, we do.
And I think that's kind of reinforced, isn't it, with the way some people treat us as well. We're kind of not welcome in some spaces still, but there you go. So are we saying then that fear is a good thing?
Personally, yes. Well, I think what I'd like to say is that fear isn't a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing that is always present, and we can work with it. A lovely statement that I heard through the pandemic was, fear gives birth to freedom. Mm-hmm. And I always have this idea of the fear tunnel, because we just sort of avoid it, don't we? It's almost like someone that's allergic to eggs. They only have to hear the word and they just kind of, their body goes, ooh. And we just have this idea, when you get this email or you get something out of the blue and you're like, oh my gosh, this is really frightening. This is, we avoid it. But with the fear tunnel, you have to go through the tunnel. You have to come out the other side. We can't go around it. But there's so many rewards. So in that sense, it is a good thing, because it's like, oh, I forgot I could do that. And where did that come from? I had to go really deep in to find that tool. Wow, that's great. Amazing what I can do under pressure. Amazing what I can do with a deadline. It's all the same thing.
It's great. And it's like, whether it's getting up and doing a talk in front of thousands of people, or whether it's getting on an airplane to go and, go to a conference somewhere, it could be anything. You don't grow as a person unless you confront that fear head on.
Yeah. And I think those that, from my experience, those that fear it, and I'm talking about myself as well, personally, I feel it a lot. I have anxiety a lot. I feel it in my body. I have a very hyperactive brain. It's very excited, very, there's that, I have to jump around the house a bit before I do a masterclass or before we talked. And I know that there's going to be things that I wish I'd said today with you. There's going to be things that I'm going to regret that I said. But the most important thing is I've got to love myself, and I've got to be kind to myself, because it's just life, and life is messy, and it's all about being able to pick yourself up and go again. We have to stop treating everything like it's so precious. And this is like me being a mentor, because I can say that, because that's how I feel. Everything can feel so pressurized. But it doesn't have to. And we have to talk to that a lot. And that's why it's so important. When I came here and when the dust settled and I moved in on my own and it was me and my cat, and I was like, oh, I feel so isolated. Okay, what do I need? I need people. What are my skills? I'm great with people. What can I do? I've done all this work. I've had all these teachers. I've got all these modalities. I've worked with, I spoke to Wacom and I said I'd love to do a masterclass, and we did this Wacom at home. And next minute and now I'm almost 5 years being a mentor, and it's something that has allowed me to step up, really be in a new part of myself. And now I'm creating the best work of my life, because I trusted that I needed something else. I needed to access something else. And this is what we were saying. There is always so much. We know that we're using such a small part of our brain. We know that we can get in a rut and we can have familiar environments. But, just a conversation, a film, a talk, a club, a day, so much, like, your life can transform. And I think the first thing is just being open to that, and knowing that the best days aren't done. You're still going to find new people. You're still going to fall in love with more people and make more connections. And you're still available to do brilliant things and contribute to the world. But we have to believe it first. We really do. And I think it's difficult in the UK, because we don't see people in a generation above doing amazing things. That's an awful thing to say, but it's really honest,
So when we confront fear and we're brave, we're not saying that you're trying to become a perfect version of yourself. What we're saying is actually part of the fear and the confrontation of that fear is accepting that you are not perfect and that you are human.
Yeah, that you're human. And I think also... when we're talking about how we show up and say, I think with social media and how we're exposed, it is really difficult for us, especially as artists that have used social media as a portfolio platform and got clients and had amazing opportunities. I mean, gosh, I almost had 1 million followers on Facebook. Who goes on Facebook now?
No one.
But we get so caught up in this identity, and a lot of people feel a bit sort of upset about or let down about social media, and I think there is that sort of, first of all, showing up and being, who you are, and knowing that the right people will connect with you, the right people will find you. I think we have to learn to be a bit more unapologetic. And especially around the internet, when people are saying, oh, well, I'm sorry I haven't shown up. I'm sorry I'm not doing this. We just have to reset the variables and experiment. What works for me? Did that feel right? Okay, I'm not going to do that. Did this work? I'm not going to do that. There's an amazing writer called Africa Brooke, and she said, the internet doesn't owe you anything. And I love that. I think we're so worried about how other people see ourselves. And when I work with my incredible art mentor, Kerry Hand, she was like, no one cares. Everyone's too busy looking at their shoes.
It's true.
It's so true. We have to remember that.
Yeah, we do. We're not that important. I think that was the most kind of liberating thing anybody ever said to me. It was like, once you realize how insignificant you are, then life is easy. And it really is. Like, once I stop caring so much about what other people think or what I do, and sort of instead become more interested in what other people are doing, it's liberating. It really is.
Yeah, it's a different barometer, isn't it? Because when people talking about social media, because it's so relevant, I speak to other artists that were, when you are successful, when you are gathering the likes and you are garnering the wins, it's like it kind of affects your creativity, because you're kind of giving people what they want to. And that was the beginning of the end for me. And now, when I started, I had a small channel. I think I barely have 1,000 followers for my mentoring. And I could just show up and just chat about what I felt about the industry, how I could sort of talk about, let's be messy. Let's just show all the messy, case or sketches. Let's stop showing up with these polished, finished pieces. And I think social media is getting a little bit like that, because TikTok is a lot less polished, and that energy is coming into Instagram. And for me, I think I felt isolated here. I created a community. I created a community of other women that felt the same. They were isolated due to unsubsidized studios, or having families, or just wanting to work at home, or not knowing people in their neighborhood. And, if you're feeling like that and you're not, connecting with people on social, or you don't have a newsletter where you're saying, this is my story, this is who I am, those platforms are really important, because right now we're all piecing together what our story is. And that's a beautiful opportunity. We don't have to think about elevator pitches, but just think about, who am I now? What do I like? What do I care about? What are the parts that I'm willing to show without being, hugely, flamboyant's the word I'm looking for. But there's, even if I'm getting, 10 likes or something, I feel like,
Doesn't
okay,
matter.
How else am I going to get my message out? How else am I going to touch people? How for me, it's about building the muscle. We've had to build the muscle again for our social interactions, because that was so hard. Now we have to build the muscle, and and social media is a perfect time to experiment and also go, no one cares. Just do the work. You can hide your likes. Get over yourself. Just play. Just enjoy. No one has more than a goldfish attention span or memory. We're just going through the scroll. Just show up, connect with people, because we're still looking for people via Instagram, and we still need. What's important, and I've got some amazing artists that are in some huge, incredible agencies, and they're being asked to show up a bit more, because it isn't about the art anymore. People need people, because we see personality, we feel emotion, we resonate with them, we feel alive. We're like, oh God, that person does that. Or, oh, I really want to visit that place. So you're meeting people on a human level. So even if you can only post once a week, or just play with that and enjoy it and show up. But show up for yourself. It's just like putting on a nice outfit and going out. It's the same thing. You know, you will feel better after it. And, we were really lucky before, but we could have been in the 50s. Then what would we done? Sat in a room on our own, and the only people who would see the work is the client after months and months of work in isolation. We're not doing too bad.
I know. Thank God the pandemic happened when we had all this technology, because it would have been really difficult. So I feel like there's a great reset going on. Everybody I speak to at the moment, especially in the creative community, everybody's kind of like reassessing, thinking about what they want to do next. And like you say, just having a different approach over the simplest of things, like they may have disliked Instagram and now they've found a new way to use it. It just feels like we're all resetting a little bit as we sort of enter this, 2024 and beyond, because it's been a difficult time.
Yeah, last year was sticky.
Oh, it was. Yeah. But I think we're coming out the other side, despite, what's going on in the world. I think a lot of us are now starting to see the light. We're kind of, okay, we can't control all these things that are happening, but what we can control is how we feel and what we can do. And maybe there's just a sort of collective urge to go back to simplicity and just take the foot off the gas,
Yeah, I love that. I think so too. And just connect within the real world, build on our own land. A newsletter is so important.
Oh, yes.
Getting all my automations and getting all of that sorted out. And yeah, I think knowing that, or at least having that viewpoint mindset that in every single situation you can find either a win or a learn. And we've done a lot of learning, absolutely. But we're wiser.
I think we are. I think there's nothing but good times to come. We can all find strength in the kind of darkness. This is getting very deep, but it's kind of, okay, so that happened. It's been tough. We've lost people. We've gone through quite a lot. But what's next? Because we've got to keep going, and this isn't the end.
Yeah, we have to be open for surprises.
Yeah, and there's still so much to look forward to.
I think so. I really, really believe that. Yeah. And that feeling and feeling it in your body and feeling that lightness is so important, because we're all so important to each other and we are relevant and people need us. And that's important to remember.
Oh, well, Joanna, this has been so interesting. Thanks for sharing your time today and your kind of lessons that you've learned recently.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
If you'd like to find out more about today's episode, you can visit creativeboom.com/podcast and check out our show notes. And if you're enjoying the series so far, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks again to our sponsor, MPB, the largest global platform to buy, sell and trade used photo and video kit. You can shop for all the used camera kit you need, sell your unwanted gear to MPB and get an instant quote, free shipping and fast payment. It really is the go-to place for everything you need. Go to mpb.com to discover more.